Welcome back to Cougar Chronicle, and oh, my heart is so happy.
I'm sure.
What great kids.
Well, here's the fun thing about that. The number of years in a row that we have been 100% kids passing that LNA exam first try.
It's a great, program.
Well, and obviously we have an aging population,
yes,
myself included. Our healthcare needs are growing, and these kids they get it. They're caretakers.
Right.
They're highly intelligent. They problem solve. They do all the things that go with it, and you feel so good for the future with those kind of kids there.
You really do, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the hardest thing, John had to hold me back because I saw Renee and would say, Bubala, come to me. I had her in kindergarten, and what a joy to see, how accomplished and how happy she is and on a career path. It's wonderful.
And just, I'm so impressed. And it really, that was, I believe, one of our first high school kids that we were able to bring in and have some conversations
actually,
with.
Actually, it is. I was thinking about, I think it is our first high school.
So we're getting some things in. And not to say that we don't want to do more of that, because that really is a big deal.
Right.
But I also want to make sure that we're pairing the feel-good moments along with the stories that need to be told.
Right.
Because the big goal of the show and the whole premise of it was to really pull the curtain back and and dive deep into
what's going on,
operations of the district.
Exactly. So. And it doesn't stop in the summertime. And I think is that what our next guest
I think that's what, and one of your favorite guests and one of mine,
absolutely.
Mr. Michael Bessette, our assistant superintendent. Hello, sir.
Hi, Michael.
If you remember last month, he had his no vest. Now it's cooled off here in New Hampshire, so he's vesting it up now.
Because summer's coming. It's always cool in summer.
Anything's possible. This place, I'm telling you.
So we're so glad you're here.
Yeah, very excited.
It's great to be here. I was thinking again, so you always ask me to kind of come up with something that's relative to the month or what's going on. First and foremost, I'm going to take a shameless second, because it's June, and the LNA program is highly successful. And I will tell you this, I have a daughter. She just graduated from Endicott as an RN. She's a graduate from Bow. I wish she had come, 6 years ago.
It's okay.
She graduated with me in Bow. And but I will say this, it was amazing to see some of the overlaps in her program and some of the problem-based learning and the competency-based learning that Endicott is using in terms of how they measure her proficiency. And the whole state assessment that is linked to her graduation and her licensure as a nurse was a competency-based assessment,
which is what we do here in Kearsarge. That's
so when people go, what is, when am I going to use this? Well,
guess what?
Here's a high quality test.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
on that note, I was thinking a little bit about. So congratulations, Alex.
We're happy for her.
Very proud. Very proud dad, as you can tell.
You should be.
A little financially in the hole for a while, but that's all right,
okay.
Right? But anyway, going into the summer, I was reminded, that as we start thinking about the importance of the summer, a lot of people, want to make their lives very busy. I don't know if you've kind of figured that out along the way. People talk about, what are you going to do this summer? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that?
Yes.
You make summer school plans for some kids, and you try to, occupy their space and their day. I wanted to spend just for a second and talk about the importance of slowing down in the summer for a second. And I'm not talking about just for our faculty and our staff. I'm talking about for kids. And thinking, it's absolutely appropriate for our staff to slow down, to reflect, think about how the year went. Many folks out there think that our staff go home in the summer months and that they just, they hang it all up for 2 months and that they don't think about school at all.
Right.
And maybe there are some that
do
do that.
Utah, right? You press pause and you
feet up, no.
And then in August you press play again. That's how that works.
But the majority of them, I would argue, don't do that. A lot of them, catch up on summer activities that they need to do in preparation for the things that are coming in the year. And a lot of them engage in self-reflection, and they think a lot about what they did last year and how they can build on those successes or failures and grow from that experience to make the next crop, if you will, an even better crop, right? So they're thinking a lot about those things. But I hope they also slow down. I hope our teachers slow down, take a deep breath. They work really hard. A lot of folks out there don't realize that our teachers put in a lot more than the 188 days, and it's not a 9-to-5 job by any stretch of the imagination. They're at school by 7:30. They're done, generally speaking, by 3:30, 4 o'clock. That's a long day, but they're not done there. They're coming home, their moms, their dads, they're out there, they're trying to take care of family, and they're out there at night correcting papers, rebuilding assignments, trying to do things that are either going to take place.
Volunteer organizations. And,
We don't offer. A lot of people think, oh, they must have time during the school day to be doing that. No, we don't. We're literally out straight all day. They're lucky if they have a 30 to 40-minute block.
They have to be so aware of everything around them that whole time because they're responsible.
So you have to slow down in the summer. You have to recapture and have that work-life balance a little bit and think about how that's going to renew people. And for kids, I think it's the same thing. There's a lot of pressure on our kids. I don't know if people realize this, but they're in school every day. And imagine the world. Imagine if I went to you every day and said, you're going to be at school from 7:30 until 3:30, drive on a bus for an hour to get back to your house. And then, by the way, I'm not going to let you be done there. I'm going to also require you to do an hour and a half or so of work at home to stay up to speed.
That's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It's a ton. So I asked, that as we think about the summer, what do we want kids to be thinking about and doing? And I love the idea of learning in the summer, but at a slower pace. And I think we don't talk enough about where the opportunities lie for people to be able to engage in that type of an experience. I know John is a big hiker and a big camper. He's talked an awful lot about his grandkids and his family and taking people out onto trails. And I personally loved hiking and traveling around the world to see things. But that's wonderful. And some people may have that experience. Some people may not, right? I mean, we live in a very diverse world.
We do live in a very diverse world.
But think about this. Where can any child, where can any student take time to just kind of take it all in, right? How can they enjoy the outdoors? We are so blessed to live in communities that have so many local opportunities for kids to get out and explore, whether it's the local pond and just spending, a couple of hours walking around the edge of a pond and looking at the pond life and, catching frogs, looking at them, doing some of the things that I recall doing in my youth and talking. I don't know about you. I have this experience. I will never forget this. I read about this one time in a psych journal, right? Okay. So I know it's got some sort of psychological applicability, right?
Must be true.
But I remember sitting on the bank of a pond in Maine, and this is not one of the big ones like Sebago or something like this or Rangeley. No. I was up in northern Maine, up in Aroostook County, where I spent a lot of time in my youth, right? And I remember sitting there, and there was this overhang of cedar trees that was coming down over the edge of the water, right? And I remember grabbing that cedar and crushing that up in my hand and just sitting there with that right here by my face and smelling that smell of cedar, right? And similar to the old stories that the psychs like to talk about, if you smell apple pie, it brings you right back to grandma's kitchen.
Yes.
That resetting and smelling that cedar on the edge of that pond, just seeing that scene, I can close my eyes right now and I can see it and I'm there, right? And that's the kind of slowing down and bringing back experiences into day-to-day activities that I think we don't spend enough thought around. How do we help our kids to find some of those activities in the summer where they can slow down, enjoy that experience of the outdoors or the indoors? I don't care if it's indoors, but taking time just to enjoy the moment. They're so wired. I mean that literally and figuratively.
Right.
I was walking down through the cafeteria one day in the high school a little while ago, a month or so ago, and every single student had some sort of technological device.
And they're like this.
Yeah.
Hi, John. Right.
Well, not even talking to one another. I think I remember you talking about that, and 6, 7 kids at a table, nobody looking at each other. They're this close to each other, but there is no connection.
Yeah. What a difference.
But take the time, slow down, bring a book to the beach, read a little bit at the beach instead of reading it on a Kindle. Actually, flip a page, see what that happens, and how that happens, and how that changes the experience for you. Because experiences make the difference. I think if after 33 years, 4 years, or whatever it is, experiences make the difference. So take something that's a ho-hum task, reading a book, bring it to that pond where that cedar is, crush that cedar up, and then read a nice chapter from Thoreau on Walden, right? If you're a high school kid.
Absolutely.
Better yet, go to Walden, go to Golden, go down there, go to the pond and experience what it was like to go up to Lake Champlain and walk along the waterfront if you get the opportunity to see the cannons and look across the lake at Fort Ticonderoga, right? I mean, you can do so many things.
The good news is here, we don't have to go far to get to Lake Kalulum up in Springfield or to Sunapee or Pleasant.
Well, and even where we are, even just throughout the district, the number of places, you can just walk out your back door.
It's amazing,
and you're in the trees and just the idea of just unplugging. I think that's the biggest piece when we talk about, the longitudinal research, long-term research about the impact of social media and technology and all these things, that the biggest thing is just to step away from it.
Right.
Just
We need that reminder, don't we?
every day.
Have you ever walked through some of our towns and just taken a minute to look at some of the blue signs,
Yes,
or the
yes.
white signs or blue
Yeah,
signs,
yeah,
depending on
yeah.
what they are? We have some amazing things that have happened in just our local communities about
That's
Civil
amazing.
War events or Revolutionary War events, right? And people, they just drive by those
Stop and
things and
read
they don't
them.
even
Right.
understand what
Yeah.
they are, right?
Yeah.
So slow down, enjoy the experience,
Great message.
refresh, bring back the learning, and then have things to talk about when you do return to school so that you can apply. That's how kids learn, is that they can take those life experiences, those experiences in different places, and then apply them to those books that they're reading in those classes, or those science labs or social studies experiences,
that.
right?
And it doesn't have to be a keeping up with the Joneses. There's no,
it doesn't matter where you live.
The fanciness of
Right.
your summer camp,
Right.
or whether you went on a trip. You could go nowhere but your own backyard
Absolutely.
and still build great memories and have great experiences that are going to allow you to translate. So when
true.
people go, "What did you do this summer?" I pretended I was X. My
Right.
grandkids have got the most wild imagination possible.
have wonderful imaginations, right.
And they'll tell you they went to the
Spoke to
moon
the
and back,
fairies,
and
right,
then
right.
built
In the
out of a
backyard.
box. But just
Love that.
the idea of play, that idea of discharge through play and activity.
And it can be done
love
through
that.
so many different things. Cooking. Think about that for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Just, if you got to cook anyway,
Yeah,
so
the
take some
measurement
opportunity.
and-
math
yes,
measurements.
exactly.
Go to your backyard stream, flip a rock over, find a caddisfly larva, and think about what that does for fishing.
See, now he's just making up words.
I know,
You know?
that we.
does that.
Hey, science teacher.
Hey, listen, after that image of you sitting, on the shore of the lake with the cedar and it's wonderful. Those are experiences
I hope you
that
have one
bring
of
you
those.
back. Oh, we do. I have a ton of them.
Good.
But because
You need to.
that's what we did, right? And we didn't have to make ourselves. We didn't have all this stuff.
No, we
No
played.
batteries included.
Yeah, right.
The summertime play. You went out.
Yeah.
Early. You came back in when the porch light went on.
You got it
and
when Mom, right?
You know,
it's time for
and then
dinner.
you went from there. And
Exactly.
play is so important. We get into the psychology of activity, and we can never speak to that enough. And so now you have the opportunity in one of the most beautiful places to do it.
Oh, we are so fortunate. So
Lean
so
in and get
blessed.
going.
Michael, I really tell you, every time you come in, you paint beautiful pictures for us. I mean, we hear about things that are going on specifically, but these images and this summer message to me is the best one we've heard.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. If Dr. Bobroff on our board didn't hear me say the word health and wellness,
Okay.
get out and do some walking while you're out there.
Right,
okay?
right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, thank you.
And congratulations to your daughter. Endicott's beautiful, by the way. That real estate there, right on the ocean. Whew, it's beautiful. It's
beautiful.
Yes,
Well,
I'd be very proud.
Proud dad moments
Yeah,
that'll last forever.
absolutely,
So he's
yeah.
been talking about that for a while.
And thank you
so
for joining
very
us.
excited
It's
for that
wonderful.
to have happened.
Well, it is June, and it does not excuse you from our next segment,
Okay.
which is coming up. You know, Michael, what it is,
I do.
right? Superintendent.
You're starting to have as much fun with this as you do.
I know, and it's an involved one today. It's a serious one. I thought, going into the summertime, I think we, need to think about some important things. So I said, I'm going to take that one on my email.
Oh, nice.
So get ready. Here it
Glad
comes.
people are sending them in. That's the biggest thing.
Absolutely. Well, stay with us. We'll be back.
On the Cougar Chronicle.